So here's the proclamation that was sent out from the White House last weekend. Invocation of the Alien Enemies Act by the President of the United States of America. This is the proclamation in which Donald Trump invoked a law from the 1700s that says when we're at war, the president can immediately deport and jail anyone his administration picks. In this case, picks as belonging to a Venezuelan criminal gang, which is something that has nothing to do with wartime. But regardless, they put this out, and there's Donald Trump's signature on the proclamation. Within hours of that proclamation, the Trump administration put hundreds of people on planes bound for a prison in El Salvador. And they had no legal process at all. People were just grabbed, chained, and sent to a foreign prison. A federal judge blocked any further flights like this and spent the week repeatedly grilling Trump administration lawyers about it. He said on Friday, quote, "Why was this proclamation essentially signed in the dark on Friday night or early Saturday morning, and then these people rushed onto planes? I mean, it seems to me the only reason to do that is if you know it's a problem and you want to get them out of the country before suit is filed." Donald Trump, a couple hours after the judge said that, was asked about that when he was departing for yet another weekend of golf, this time at his New Jersey golf club. So he's asked about, why did you sign this in that weird time frame? Why'd you sign it in the dark in that way? Watch what Trump said in response. This was super weird.
I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it. But Marco Rubio's done a great job, and he wanted him out, and we go along with that.
I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. You sure, big guy? Because you're trying to blame Marco Rubio here, but that is not Marco Rubio's signature. Do you not remember signing it? Did you not sign it? Somebody else put your name there? When the White House was asked about Trump saying he totally did not sign that proclamation with his signature on it, the White House came up with a novel explanation. They said, and I quote, "President Trump was obviously referring to the original Alien Enemies Act that was signed back in 1798. Oh, yes, obviously. The President of the United States, obviously, just thought he was being asked whether he signed a document more than 200 years ago. And his answer was, no, other people handled that. Isn't Marco Rubio wonderful? He was talking about 1798. This proclamation at question is ostensibly the legal underpinning for this whole deportation operation, the sending flightfuls of people to a prison in a foreign country. Trump's denial that he ever signed it is now obviously part of the ongoing legal fight. The ACLU telling the judge in this case in its latest filing today, quote, "There is now confusion as to when the proclamation was issued and whether the president signed it at all." Today, the Trump administration took this fight to an appeals court in Washington. They want to resume more flights like this, like the one to El Salvador. It's not clear how the appeals court will rule or when. But meanwhile, the Trump administration just tonight has filed notice that it is invoking the state secrets privilege, meaning they are claiming that for national security reasons, they don't need to provide the court any information about these deportation flights. Even as we still don't know who they deported, and even as attorneys and family members of the people they put on those flights say they can't get in touch with anybody who has been put in this prison in El Salvador. It is an insane story from the very beginning, but it's now approaching surreal.
If the government says we don't have to give process for that, then y'all could have put me up on Saturday and thrown me on a plane, thinking I'm a member of Tren-de-Aragua and giving me no chance to protest it and say somehow it's a violation of presidential war powers for me to say, "Excuse me, no, I'm not. I'd like a hearing." You wouldn't say that.
Federal appeals court judge today incredulous that the Trump administration could argue they have the right to pick up anyone they want and deport them to a jail in a foreign country with no process at all, no explanation, not even a paper trail. But that is what they're arguing. Joining us now is Lee Gelernt, Deputy Director of the ACLU Immigrant Rights Project. He was in court today arguing against the administration in this case. Lee, Mr. Gelernt, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We've just had news that the Trump administration is invoking the state secrets privilege in this case. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah. So this is just another incredible day in a series of incredible days in this case. The judge said turn these planes around. This was last Saturday night, I guess, now 8 days ago, when they were in the air because they were headed to El Salvador. And he said, I don't think that this invocation of this 1798 Act is legal. They did not turn the planes around. It was clear that the planes were in the air. This is all public information. They could have turned the planes around. They could have brought people back once they landed. And now the government, rather than answer the judge's understandable questions about what they did, has invoked the State Secrets Act, meaning state secrets privilege, meaning that they're not going to answer the judge's questions. It's really unbelievable in this situation for the government to say, no, we're not going to answer your questions, and we're going to go as far as to call these state secrets facts, even though everyone knows when the planes were in the air.
Lee, what do you make of the fact that the president is now denying having ever signed the Alien Enemies Act proclamation here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it, truthfully, and that's why we filed something in court, as you mentioned, saying that among other facts that we need are what's going on with this. Did the president sign it? When did he sign it? The one thing we do know is that apparently it was signed on Friday, March 14th. They started moving people before they actually published the proclamation on the afternoon, Saturday afternoon, the 15th, which is completely against the way the act is supposed to work. It says a public proclamation. They started using its authority before they even let the public know it had been passed. Now, if the president didn't even sign it, that's yet a whole nother layer of confusing facts that we need to find out.
It's the combination of like the maximum lawlessness and maximum consequences for the people who have been sent there. Yeah. Lee Gelernt, Deputy Director of the ACLU Immigrant Rights Project. Ongoing story. Come back soon. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Rachel.